Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show, another exciting guest. Today we're going to talk to Charissa Halonen. And let me tell you where we're going to go with her beautiful story. And definitely a beast mindset here. Imagine having a car accident, then being misdiagnosed. And imagine, if you will, with me, trying to understand what's going on with your life as you've already been misdiagnosed. Let's go even deeper than this. Now imagine your dreams changing who you were. Life has given you a whole deck of cards that now you have to figure out, how do I keep that beast mindset? How do I get back the person that I once was? Charissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Andre.
I can't even imagine what your life must have been like after this event took place. But before we go there, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are first.
I'm quite happy to. So I'm born Northern Alberta, small town, and I have always been what I call myself a trailblazer. So when I graduated from school, I went down 7 hours away from home, down to Calgary, and studied to be a massage therapist. And getting that training under my belt was like giving me a license to run the world. Because from there, I started up a clinical practice. I became a part of a chiropractic practice. Mm-hmm. And then with that, you have to do professional training. So then that training ended up by taking me overseas. So I picked up my life and took off, went overseas, got training that I couldn't get in Canada. And that was really just the start of being able to go anywhere that I wanted in the world, and just taking the training and really just serving the people. That was what I loved about massage, and still to this day, is being able to serve people and have that one-on-one time with them and help them bring themselves back to themselves physically in their body. Lots of tension and stress usually always takes you away from it. So I'm truly a multi-faceted person with so many different interests in life, but it all comes back to, how do I best serve people? And what really is my aligned purpose being here, and what do I get to do with it?
Let's go down something that's pretty painful. To the best of your recollection, what was that event like that changed the way it just changed you completely? Was the car accident? What happened briefly?
It was a random day at work. And I had decided, I'm an early Christmas shopper. It's always busy in the massage industry at Christmas time. So I had gotten in my vehicle to go Christmas shopping that day. And I was a couple blocks away from where I was working. And there was a lady that came through the stop sign. I didn't have a stop sign, but she came through the stop sign at such a speed that she hit me so hard that I ended up in the other lane of traffic facing the wrong direction. I had been going north and I ended up facing south, and I had spun in the middle of this. Luckily, it was on more of a side street, so there was less traffic and there wasn't extra people that got hurt because of it. But I ended up by having to shoulder check my way out of the vehicle because I had actually gotten trapped in. The door had caved in on it. The radiator had exploded. My airbags had gone off. And so I didn't think too much about it in that moment because I was able to physically get out of the vehicle and then go interact with the woman to make sure that she was okay, and then interacted with the firefighters. But it was pretty quickly evident by the next day that I wasn't really the same person. I was more angry about things. Like I couldn't tell you what my name was by the end of the day. It was like a Vegas banner up here that I knew what my name was, but I couldn't get it out. And it went on like that for months, where I really truly felt like something was wrong. I was seeing different doctors, different practitioners, and everybody's like, "No, you're fine." And I was still working. I was still had a relationship at that point, but nothing felt right anymore. And I'm a pretty stubborn person. So I had gone on to get a referral to an orthopedic surgeon, hoping to get to see a neurologist, because I would lose my words. I'd forget things if I didn't write it down. I'd go to the grocery store and I knew I needed 6 things, but I could only remember 1. So then I'd have to go back home and grab my list and go back to the store. But it was when I went to go see the orthopedic surgeon that he was worried about my back. And I'm like, but I'm more worried about my brain. Mm-hmm. And so I think he was a little bit annoyed. So he gave me a concussion test and he's like, well, you have a concussion, very clearly. Mm-hmm. But because it had been 3.5 years, there was nothing they could do to repair any of the damage. The damage had been too long gone. So the neurologist refused to see me. And it was when I got that diagnosis, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. But now what do I do? Knowing that the neurologist is like, that's too complicated. There's nothing we can do for you. Good luck.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't work for me.
Right.
So what do I need to do now? So if that can't change, if my brain is now exactly this way, what do I need to do? Mm-hmm. I still practice massage. I still want to be able to have a fully functioning life. I was only 27 at the time. Mm-hmm. So it was like really sitting with myself of like, okay, we're building forward. What do I need to do to be able to manage each day? What do I need to do to manage how my brain handles the day? Mm-hmm. And just really starting to learn about myself, learn about what my triggers are, learn about how I have to navigate my capacity now, instead of overworking, over pushing, and trying to be that really high achiever. I had to actually really turn inwards and really get to what is the root? What do I want to create? How do I need to be? And really what is in my best interest every day. So it really forced me to actually look at life and get clear on what were the priority things and what were the most important things.
Before that happened, and I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad you're here with us today and definitely still doing what you sought out to do, which is helping other people navigate. Let's go back a minute. When the accident happened and you did you get transported to the hospital?
My mom came to the accident site and drove me. Like I was still able to walk around. So I did go to the hospital. I did get checked out. I did get CT scans. I went back 10 days later because my neck was sore. So I did physically get seen by doctors.
What I can't understand is if 3 years later, you still having symptoms and you're going repetitively. How deep did they check you? With did they do, like, outside of the CAT scans and stuff? What other protocols did they do for you? Because now doctors don't want to have nothing to do with you for the fact that they may get a lawsuit or, whatever the situation is. But to me, if the impact is so obvious now, it should have been clear when it first happened and over the course of 3 years, because you've been going back and forth let me go here. Did you, each time you went back to the doctor, were you going to a chiropractor or were you going to a neurologist?
Well, I was going back to my family doctor at the time, right? Because I had a chiropractor that I was working with. I didn't have access to a neurologist because where I lived in northern Alberta, the closest neurologist is 5.5 hours away. And you have to be referred by your family doctor to be able to get an appointment. Mm-hmm. And it took me pretty much arguing with my medical doctor for 3.5 years to get a referral, because I'm like, everything is still causing issues. Even though I'm still getting all of the treatment done, I was getting chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, physiotherapy. And the only thing that I wasn't willing to do was take heavy narcotic painkillers. Mm-hmm. And because I wasn't willing to do the heavy narcotic painkillers, my doctor didn't really take me seriously. Mm. And I'm like, but I can navigate that. Like a 5 out of 10 pain for me is not so bad. But if I start taking narcotic painkillers, I can't do my job anymore.
Right.
Because I'm no longer of clear mind to be taking care of my clients. So I wasn't willing to let my practice go. I figured out how to navigate the pain without the meds. So it was really me forcing my doctor. I'm like, okay, this isn't better. You're not willing to actually treat me. Can you refer me to a clinic that's actually going to look at me and at least tell me, no, you're totally crazy. You're making it up, or figure out exactly what's going on. Right. So it's like when I actually saw this,
how were you
clinic,
able to?
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this question. During this span, what kind of things were you dealing with that was mind altering, that was affecting you and could have affected you down the line, that really start to handicap your performance? Because if they're not diagnosing, you still are, and you still do massage, you're still helping people, but at the same time, you're 20-some years old, 27, then you're aging 27, 22, almost 30 years old now. How was the accident really changing who you were? Because let's call it what it is. You're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
This changes that whole projector. What were some of the things that you start implementing into your life that was changing your sense of direction?
So the first thing was really getting a handle on the aggression that I had, because when my brain would be agitated, I would get really angry. And you could just tell me, tomorrow we're going to wear blue shirts instead of black shirts, like we talked about. And that was enough for my brain to throw a tantrum and for me to get really angry about something that really didn't matter. So it was constantly navigating irrational emotions in the day. Plus with the back pain, because I was driving a standard. So I saw this lady coming, and so I tried to stop. So I had both my foot on a brake and a clutch at the same time. So when my hips got hit, they got jarred. And I actually have 2 disc tears in my back, one right above each other from L4 to L5 and L5 to S1. And they're pushing on my sciatic nerve on my left side. Wow. So there would be points that I would be in physical pain, because being in the massage realm, I'm really good at my body mechanics. So I would raise my table up, it's hydraulic, and move people around. But even with good biomechanics, at the end of the day, things are a bit tired. So then I would physically not be doing that well. I wasn't sleeping that well. If I was getting 4 hours of sleep, that was pretty good. I was grinding my teeth. My partner had to wake me up in the middle of the night because he said I sounded like a cement truck. So there was a great amount of tension and pressure that I was learning just how to navigate to the best of my ability, because I didn't want to stop my life, but I didn't really know what else to do.
When you wind up 3 years later, being diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome, don't that kind of make you pissed off that the system wasn't capable of either listening to you or providing the right resources for you? You're talking to 3 years. So just imagine if, and I'm pretty sure they probably tell you this, what if, and this is a what if factor, what if you was put in a situation where proper diagnosis and treatments would have been performed? Maybe it wouldn't have been diagnosed as post-concussion syndrome, because at least it could have been treated or isolated at the point of origin.
Yeah. So I'm not a big what if person, I believe everything happens for me for my best interest. So what I really took from that point was this diagnosis confirmed I'm not crazy. What I'm experiencing is a change in my body. But I also became the practitioner that if I saw somebody and they're like, oh, I just had a car accident, I'm like, go prove me wrong. Go get tested for a concussion and do not leave until they actually test you for it. I'm like, come back and tell me I'm wrong. And pretty much every time the person would come back, they're like, actually, I have a concussion. I got put on this protocol. I'm like, good. I don't want anybody to actually have to experience what I'm experiencing because it could have just been a concussion.
Right.
It didn't need to progress into post-concussive syndrome because post-concussive syndrome is what you're seeing in the NFL players and the hockey players, where it's repeated concussions that go unnoticed and untreated and then create a backlash of symptoms and issues later in life. So it made me like, yes, I could definitely go down that rabbit hole of being angry about it, but that doesn't change anything.
Right.
That just takes all of this energy that I now need to use to be like, how do I move forward knowing that this is something I'm probably going to have to navigate for the rest of my life?
I didn't mean to cut you off. You talked about the accident. Did you ever hear anything about the condition of the lady that struck you or the person that struck you? I mean, with an impact, what I'm saying is with that type of impact, I'm pretty sure it was just as devastating for that person as well.
She ended up by having a little bit of soft tissue injuries. Like she made her airbag go off. She just about ran into a tree. And one of the firefighters that responded ended up by being his grandson. So I did get a little bit of feedback from how she was doing. And from what I heard, she did okay. Like she was more startled. Like I think she was very confused to begin with because the accident should have never happened. Like for how fast she was going in that region, the speed limit was only 30 and she was going double that.
Wow.
So I think that was just her body was in an altered state anyhow. So maybe she didn't get quite the impact where I was very conscious of, wow, this is about to happen. How do I get myself out of it?
Now that the 3 years have passed, and what has been the most impactful part of your life that you had to really realize you can no longer do this anymore?
I very much had to stop being a perfectionist and overworking because I was working far too much and I wasn't doing enough taking care of myself and slowing down in a day and just doing that preventative care. And also just really looking at, okay, what am I really made of? I had been challenged before in life, but I had never been challenged to this point where everything that I had built is now in question. Now I have to figure out what am I going to build forward, knowing that these certain things are unavailable now, right? I couldn't treat 8 people a day anymore. My body would not let me. So then I had to cut back on the amount of people that I was working on. I had to have a better working environment where I wasn't the best place. So in a lot of ways, it forced me to go out on my own to find that balance where working for myself actually allowed that less pressure, less sensitivity, because I had more control over the environment that I was going to be in all day. And so it really, I took it as a blessing. Once I realized that I was in a position that nothing was going back to the way that it was 3 years before, no matter how hard I wanted to push in that direction. I had to really sit there, and the way to get through it for my beast mode was to look at what are the positives? What can I take and build stronger from this? Because if I just look at the negatives of it, I'm going to poke holes in any foundation I'm trying to build now. So how do I take this and make it as the foundation that I rise from instead of the thing that completely obliterated my story?
This is crossing my path. And I like the way you was able to pivot. But in reality, a lot of people can't pivot like that. How did you put those steps in place? And how long did it take to put those steps in place?
It was essentially one step at a time. So the first thing that I had to do was adjust how much I was treating. So I ended up by leaving the clinic that I was at fairly shortly after, because I'm like, this situation doesn't work anymore. And that's when it's like I really started betting on myself. Mm-hmm. And it's just little small things of like, hey, trusting, I know that I can do this, and not allowing there to be a plan B or a plan C. It's like just going fully into this, but really honoring, okay, I'm starting this new clinic for myself. What hours do I need to set? I'm not going to come at it from a sense of lack or scarcity of like, hey, I'm going to have to work way more because I think nobody's going to come. I have to build what's actually going to sustain me, because otherwise I'm creating way more trouble than what I was just in. So it was really just like at each step being intentional and just doing one step at a time. Moving to one new clinic, that was a big enough step, but it was the only thing that I did. And then I let that level out. And then I started looking at different aspects of my life of, okay, how is my relationship? How is, my balance between what am I creating in life and where am I enjoying the life?
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question. How did, I'm pretty sure where you worked at, they knew what had happened.
Yes.
Did they make any accommodations to say, okay, we know you can only handle so much. We have the facility here. It seemed like to me to take some of the pressure off of you. Were they willing to do that? Or did you say, you know what, it's not their responsibility. I need to do this on my own.
So unfortunately, the place that I was working, I was one of their highest earners. So if I cut back on the hours that I was doing, which was the reasonable thing to be able to navigate, it cut back on the amount of money they were getting from me. And that was not okay. They're like, you signed up saying you would do these hours, so we're holding you to those hours. It wasn't, even though it was a holistic center, there was difference in views that came out when it came down to financial stuff.
How did you take that, knowing that they knew your situation? I mean, productivity over the fact that you're a human and that you was just in a serious accident, but you still want to continue to work for them and to pursue a career on both?
Yeah. It was one of those moments where I essentially said, thank you for showing me who you are.
Yeah, that's what I would have said too.
Well, and I did. And it was one of those, I'm just like, okay. And then from there, I made that plan, because I'm like, these people don't have my back. They really, truly don't. No matter what they try and present to you at the beginning, it's like, well, it comes down to the nitty gritty. They don't have my back. So how do I have my back? And so the way that I did that is I found a place to rent before I gave my notice, because I'm like, okay, now I know what kind of people I'm working with.
Right.
So, and when I gave my notice, it was a 2-month notice period that I had to give.
Right.
And then I told them, I'm like, okay, well, I'm honoring my 2 months. My last day is going to be this day. However, I'm now only going to work these days because the other days you already have therapists and I'm just not able to handle that, but I will do that for the rest of my contract. And it was a husband and wife that I was working with. And the wife is like, well, it really seems like you don't need us. And I'm like, I actually don't. And then Those were the words that were the nail in the coffin for me. She's like, okay, you're done tomorrow then. And she's like, we will watch you pack up. You're done tomorrow. And I'm like, I negotiated one more day because I'm like, Friday I have a full day that you don't have anybody to take over. That will upset your clients. At least let me work one more day past that.
Man, that is, excuse my friends, that's some fucked up shit.
Yeah, it was.
It just goes to show that you're right. What you say, shit happens for a reason. You know what I mean?
100%.
And the fact that they knew your situation, your circumstances, that they wasn't really willing to at least accommodate, to even keep money in their business. You know what I mean? Like what? Yeah. Maybe doing a table, ask you what do you need, and I'm glad you went out on your own. Put it like that. I'm glad.
I was too.
So let me go here. We realize, and I think people need to take a key note from your story. out of the fact that could have been your last breath in an accident, it changed the whole trajectory, what might have seemed for the worst to the best, because most individuals have a tendency to put all of their stakes in something like you just said, their career, which was working for somebody else. And at the end of the day, they could give a rat's ass about what happened to you as long as you brought profits in the thing. With that said, who did have your back? When you look at the bigger picture of what you went through and look at it now, who really had your back?
I had a couple friends that had my back. Like my family, to the best of their ability, had my back, but it was because I had changed so much as a personality. I had points where my one sister, I have two of them, was like, "You're just faking this. You're just doing this to get sympathy." I'm like, if I'm actually faking this, I would really love an Academy Award, because this is a lot of effort to create so much misery in my own life.
Right.
So really, I had myself, and then the partner that I had at that point showed up for me too. And it was very shortly after we had started dating that he was there and was the other person in my corner, because even my family had their own misgivings. And again, a lot of it was because I wasn't that kind person anymore. I kind of turned into a jerk and hadn't really realized that I was being so much of a jerk.
Well, it seemed like they would have known. It seemed like that they've known you since the moment you step foot on this earth. They seen your involvement from kid to woman. They should have seen some type of behavior pattern that would have said, you know what? Something ain't right. You haven't been right since this car accident, but yet and still you've been met with resistance and questionability. How is it now with your sisters and the people that questioned your authenticity of what happened?
Well, when they finally, like when I got the diagnosis, the younger sister is the first one I called, and she's like, "Oh, that explains a lot." And I'm like, "I'm not crazy, see?" And so it was validation for me that I'm like, okay, your perception of this was wrong. I was struggling, and you were adding to my struggle because you were thinking that I was just yanking people's legs and just trying to get sympathy and trying to get out of things, when it was entirely the exact opposite. Is I hadn't realized how much my personality had changed. My mom was the one that told me, "You kind of turned into a jerk now, Charissa." And I'm like, "No." And then after, I'm like, oh, I apologized to her and the partner that I had at the time. I'm like, "I am so sorry for how awful I've actually been, because I've been in denial and not seeing how this is actually changing my life."
Let me ask you this. You've been diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome.
Yeah.
The way you acted then doesn't mean that you still don't have those capabilities. You can control it, I guess, to an extent, but you've been diagnosed. So that behavior pattern is still lingering within you because you've been diagnosed already.
Yeah.
So my question here is, you're being very transparent with the people in your inner circle. How do you keep this from flaring up again? Because it's still there. You've already been diagnosed. So that part of what we might call Batman and Robin syndrome still lingers. How do you prevent that from taking over?
I'm very open about talking about it. And like, it's the idea that when there's a brain injury in the family, everybody has a brain injury. So I just know that I really have to guard my capacity in a day, because if I am overstimulated, that beast of the anger and irritation and flying off the hook is ready to jump right out. So if I don't keep myself in check, or if I feel like I'm getting to the point that I'm like, okay, I'm reaching my capacity, I just say, "I'll be back. I got to go take a couple minutes." And I go spend 5-10 minutes, whatever I need to like recenter myself and like get my brain to realize it's okay. We're good. There's no trouble here. We can take it down a notch. We don't have to escalate. But it's really being in tune with myself and being honest of when I'm like, oh, that was really sharp, right? Especially having 2 stepsons that are teenagers now. It's like, oh, I'll be back. Like, I got to go. This is not a you problem. This is a me problem. And before it becomes a whole family problem, I need to go get this in check.
Yeah.
So I become very good at being very inwardly focused on how my energy and everything is doing every day, because you're right, this hasn't gone away. I have gotten better tools to navigate it, and I always bring it back to me, even if it's a situation that's causing irritation. I'm like, I still have control over this because I understand what's going to set it off.
Now, do you collaborate, or is part of your therapy or your treatment, does it dealing with a therapist to make sure that you can control what we might call triggers? Because I would think, and I don't know, so I'm not going to play doctor about, the protocol syndrome, concussion. But to me, it seems like you always have to be on high alert. Are you working closely with a therapist on that mental aspect? Because let's get real, you can't do it all by yourself.
No, you sure can't. I do have a psychologist that I work with, and we've done some EMDR, so rapid eye movement therapy, to help process it so that there isn't such an emotional charge to it.
What is that? I could you clarify that to the people that don't know what that means and how that works, the rapid eye thing, as it relates to the protocol?
Yeah. So EMDR is using bilateral stimulation of your brain at the same time. So sometimes it's a light moving across a bar, or it's things you hold in your hand that vibrate back and forth, because they want both sides of your brain to start working in collaboration regarding the emotions held from any kind of trauma in life. So it's, we find a particular part of the accident, and then we work through it. Usually I'll have my eyes closed, and then we've got things in my hands that vibrate back and forth, the bilateral stimulation, until that part of the accident doesn't have an emotional charge to it anymore. So then it just becomes part of a memory that starts to fade away, because the memories that have really strong emotions end up by staying really close, because emotions are only expressed in the moment. So if you can talk about something and it brings an emotion forward, then that still has an emotional tie to that memory. And so I've worked very closely with the psychologist to be able to release that, so that it's not something else I have to navigate of bringing those emotions in. Like, now I can talk about the car accident and the details of it without getting tearful or angry at the situation. It just becomes a part of the story.
Before we wrap up, let's go back a little bit. I know nobody ever wants to be put in a situation like that in any type of accident, but you said something I think people need to also grasp, and you focused on this. Things happen for a reason. If that didn't happen to you, and I know you're not into what if, but just what was your life trajectory then heading towards versus now? Where is the enlightenment part? Was there enlightenment prior, or is there more enlightenment now?
There's definitely more enlightenment now. If I would have stayed on the same path and had not had the car accident, I would be burnt out and completely exhausted, because I was working as hard as I possibly could to be externally validated and be relevant, because my definition of success was defined by what was modeled for me. And so I was trying to get external approval of my life. So I really wasn't truly living a life that was in alignment for me as a person. It was just trying to make other people proud.
Wow. You know what? I know I'm not going to say this was hard for you to come and talk about it, because with treatment, you're able to sit here and basically give a full account of what happened, how you overcame, and how you kept that beast mindset. What should somebody get from this story?
That no matter what is presented in your life, or that you end up by experiencing, there is a way to look at it. How is this for me?
Mhm.
How is this happening for my best interest? Because if you can find that, then that's that first breadcrumb to start going into a recovery from there.
Mhm.
Because it's looking at, what am I learning from this? What is this teaching me? Instead of, why did this happen to me? That's very disempowering.
Right.
What is this teaching me? What can I take from this? Those are really empowering because it's like it has momentum behind the words.
Let's look at another area here, and it took 3 years to get diagnosed. You're in the health and fitness arena, just like I was in that. And when you're in that arena, you try to make a difference here, especially when things have happened to you and you can give a full account of what happened. Based on what happened to you, based on the amount of time that it took to get diagnosed, all the hoops, all the misinformation from people that we trust. These were people you was going to that couldn't give you adequate information or choose to not give you adequate information, adequate resources. What do you want to see change based on what you went through so somebody else doesn't have to go through that?
I just want there to be standard protocols. Anytime somebody jostles your head, because it doesn't even have to be a car accident. Your brain, when you're alive, has a consistency of butter that's been sitting at room temperature. And all it has to do is hit your skull, and that will create a concussion. So sports, it's snowy here, so there's lots of stuff in the winter. But just having that, it should be the next thing that happens after 911 gets called and you get assessed is, have we assessed the full neurological aspect of these things? Because I'm at least grateful that, knowing what I know from my experience, that 5 of my clients got diagnosed properly and immediately, and they don't have the same symptoms that I do. And they were able to have support in the moment and actually recover and then maintain their lives from there.
Yeah, I always wondered about that. When you're a professional athlete, and God knows the concussion protocol is crazy, but you always wonder, is there a dual standard for people that entertain when it comes to those things versus individuals like yourself, that if you was some major athlete or something, maybe the situation would have been different. Maybe they would have addressed it at point A versus 3 years down the line.
Yeah. Well, and the 3 years down the line came because I was persistent. I wouldn't take no for an answer because I knew deep down something was wrong. So it was me going back and saying, okay, if you won't treat this or you don't know what it is, who can you send me to? Okay, who can I go talk to? And it was at my persistence that I eventually ended up in that city 5 hours away seeing a doctor, because I didn't give up, because my health is more important to me than it is to another doctor. No matter how good the doctor is, it's still my health. So it had to be me advocating for myself.
When you went to that doctor years later, 5 hours away, what was his response that it took so long for them for you to get to the point that you're at?
He was more annoyed that I wasn't worried about my back pain. He gave me the concussion protocol, essentially what felt like to shut me up. And he's like, oh, well, this is your problem, but I'd like to work on your back. And I'm like, oh, I'll deal with my back later. Thanks for this.
No, I mean the doctor who actually discovered what was wrong with you, because they had passed along. What was his response? That was his response as well?
That was his response. He was unfazed by the idea that it had been 3.5 years and I had had a concussion the whole time.
Wow.
He was more annoyed that I didn't want to get a surgery.
Wow. That's crazy. Thank you so much, Charissa, for coming on to the show and sharing such a beautiful beast mindset and coming out of it and doing what you're doing. How can the viewers reach out to you and support you? Because you're definitely now back into your career doing massage therapy and so forth. So how can the viewers reach out to you?
So I'm the most active on Instagram at Charissa Halonen. If you're sending a DM to me with any questions, I openly welcome it, and it is me answering it. no AI, no bots, just me. And I'm there all the time. I show you what I'm doing and what's working and just the things that are going on in life.
Let me go here before I close out, because you have been diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome, and you are on social media, you're blowing up on social media. Are you finding you're getting more clients that are in that same protocol, that since you're able to deal with it and recognize it, so to speak, and able to treat them? Are you getting more people like that into your studio?
Not necessarily. It's more people who are wanting to change their lives, not necessarily ones that have had brain injuries.
What do you mean when you say ones that want to change? Tell me a little bit about your business. And what do you mean when you say those that want to change their lives?
So our business is a collection of using mindset tools, nutrition, fitness, and then massage to help people rediscover themselves. And it's like using the mindset training to help people understand where their limiting beliefs are and uncover those so that they can actually take action in their life, and using the nutrition tools to help them to get the right fuel so their bodies are feeling good, and then the movement in the day. So it's kind of a combined therapy where you're using everything because you want to transform your life. You don't just want to look good for bikini season. You actually want to make a change that's going to propel you forward for the next chapter, not just for a month.
Wow. That sounds great. I wish everybody thought like that. Once again, thank you so much for taking time out to come on the show and share such a beautiful story. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, follow, click that button. All it takes is one click to make a difference in somebody else's life and maybe even change yours. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. Cut. Okay, so now we're going to do the trailer. How'd you like it?
It was awesome.
Okay. We'll edit it and get it out. It'll probably be out tomorrow. What? Tomorrow?
Okay.
Probably be out tomorrow, yeah. So we're going to do the trailer. And I'm going to say on the next episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show, I'm more than just PCD. And then you say, hi, this is Charissa, first and last name. Join me on this episode as I share with you how I'm not just post-concussion syndrome. I'm blah, blah, blah. Just a few bullet points, and then I close it out. Okay?
Okay.
PCS. Okay.
Yeah.
PCS. Post-concussion syndrome. Okay, PCS. Okay. Be ready. 1, 2, 3. On the next episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show, I'm not just PCS.
Hi, I'm Charissa Halonen, and I'm here to tell you how I'm more than my post-concussive syndrome.
Give us a little bit more.
I'm here to show you how you can take...
I
gotta take it. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I coming from an accident to recognizing that I was being, overworked or something, and I took my life back. Just something like that. Okay. Let's try one more time.
Sorry.
1, 2, 3. On the next episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show, I'm more than PCS.
Hi, I'm Charissa Halonen, and I'm here to tell you how I'm more than my post-concussive syndrome. How I went from being an overworked high achiever to finding alignment from my accident.
That and more on the next Andre the Beast Crayton Show.